one of the things that I've noticed too is that you are motivated more by the things you have a natural proclivity to or for. And so as homeschooling moms, we become students of our children and dads. What are their learning styles? Are they auditory kinesthetic? Or do they learn by moving? Or my oldest son, I just was getting nowhere with him quick when we started homeschooling. And I was using a curriculum that it read like this, and I was bound by the law to use a certain one that said, have your student put his hands on the desk and look you in the eye and his feet on the floor, raise your hand. I mean, it was obviously written for a classroom. But that was so unmotivating for Ty. And when I understood he learns by moving and talking, both of which are unacceptable behaviors in a classroom, man, that set him free. And so I knew he was either going to be a preacher or a salesman. He was gonna make his living with his mouth while he was moving, and he is a great salesman, and he shares the gospel in season and out of season, and so there is something about that. So I loved school, so I was motivated to do well, but my oldest son, Ty, was he's also a great athlete, that whole kinesthetic thing. He played soccer in college and did a lot of gym work and bodybuilding, and so one summer, he was working as a personal trainer at a gym here. He was still in college, and he said, "Come on, mom, I'm gonna take you to the gym." Well, weightlifting and all of that, I was not a sports I love sports, but I was not a participator growing up except for running a lot with my dad. And so I can just remember thinking, "Oh, I hate this. I hate learning something new. I hate trying to understand." And so we get in the gym, and all those years of cajoling Ty, "Oh, honey, let's do it. Oh, come on. You've got 30 more minutes left in you for school." He said, "Well, let's do this." And I said, "No, I don't want to." And he said, "Mom, that's not like you." And he said, "Well, try it this way." And I said, "No, I don't wanna do that either. I don't wanna be here." And so it was one of those rich moments of payback a little, or get not payback, get back. But there was some switch that flipped in me, and I thought, this is how some kids feel about school. It's awkward. It's not, native to their disposition or the way they think, and school in a traditional setting is sitting. It's a lot of sitting and being still and keeping your mouth shut, and so I don't know why I'm sharing all of that to say, but the freedom and flexibility in homeschooling, and then what you talk about in project-based learning, man, that's motivating. That is motivating.
I think that, I love the kinda payback aspect of it, 'cause there's always that level of, like, I said we were in North Carolina recently, and, my wife and I got to go on our first vacation by ourselves. This is our first anniversary, and it wasn't because we were, like, not able to do it. It was almost like we didn't realize that that much time had passed. Yeah, it's kinda like, "Was that the last time we did that?" And so we had a really excellent time, and, at one point, my wife was worrying on what's going on at home because, we left and we have phenomenal children, and the older ones take care of the younger ones, and I said, it's their responsibility, and if they're having a little problem, I'm okay with that. Like, I mean, there's been a little difficulty over the years, and so if they're gonna work a few things out, I'm not feeling sorry for that. Um, I think that this motivation thing, and this is a theme, Zan, I've been working on a little bit. We're getting ready to go to Colorado, to do an event for our students, and so this is some of the content I've been thinking about and working for on that. So this is kind of new stuff for us. But I've noticed that, just like people talk about success a lot, people talk about dreams a lot. And there's this idea that, you should dream big and you should 10x your dream and all those things. And that always rang pretty hollow to me. I felt like there was an emptiness to that because what I've noticed at the end of the day is that achieving your dream is not particularly super common. And I noticed this most. I was really interested in airplanes and aviation growing up, and then my life took some other turns, and so I didn't pursue that. But I know some people that, like, their big dream was to be a fighter pilot. And what happens is that fighter pilots come back to them and say, "You should dream big. You should do that." And the fighter pilot standing in the front of the school auditorium or the church or something like that says, "You should dream big like I did." Well, you run some math and that's not working, right? I mean, like there's only there's a very small percentage of people that fly F-18s for the Navy, right? And that has to do with how many slots are available right then, and if you're in the right timing, like things completely out of your control. It has to do whether physiologically you can handle the G forces when they put you in the spinning machine and find out if you black out. It has to do with whether you can do advanced math and if you have good reflexes. Like there's not a big portion of the population that has that, and so you can dream like crazy and want that like you wanted nothing else in life, and pass out on the spin test, and you're done. You're washed out of fighter school, right? I mean, you can't fly. And so what do we do then if we told people dream big, dream big, dream big, and then it's empty? What does that mean? And I think that you see a lot of young people who have this cynicism and this bitterness and this despair that has come from people saying dream big and then reality hits. And so, as the answer to not dream. And one of the things I've been thinking about, Zan, is that in my life, I've seen that dreaming big in the context of faith, right? Being able to dream big and give to God has been really interesting to me because things that I never thought would be possible have happened. Like I've watched things happen and I'm like, I cannot believe this happened. And there are other things that didn't that I wanted at one time. But by dreaming in the context of faith, I found that when they didn't happen, I didn't really care as much, right? And that's not to say that you're not
That's right.
disappointed about certain
No,
things,
no, that's so powerful. That's
but
so powerful.
but just that. And so, when you're talking about motivation, yeah, get in the habit of dreaming, but get in the habit of dreaming and giving this to God and being curious about where that leads you, right? Because I've had dreams that took me down a path and then that dream didn't work out, but it opened up whole vistas and horizons that I didn't know was there previously. And all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, I don't really want that anymore, but I'm really glad about this." And the reason I thought about this, I just mentioned we were in North Carolina and we were on this river and we toured these boats. On our honeymoon, we went up to Maine and I got so infatuated with the boats up there. And one of my big dreams was to build a boat and to sail, I don't know, around the world to the Caribbean. I had all kinds of different ideas. And that never happened. The biggest thing we've ever had is a canoe. We've done a lot of canoeing, but not any big sailing and built big boats. My son has built boats, but also canoes. And so, anyhow, I was walking down the dock with Karen. I said, "You know what's fun?" I said, "It's looking at these boats." I never got the big boat, right? I never even got to travel on one. And to realize that I had a lot of fun dreaming about that, I had a lot of fun learning about that and researching that over the years. I subscribed to Wooden Boat magazine for probably 15 years. Um, and now I don't want it at all. I didn't achieve it, but I don't want it because the dreams I haven't set are so much more exciting and so much more interesting to me. So I look back with nostalgia and say it was a fun ride. I enjoyed learning about it. I wouldn't take the boat if you gave it to me right now. And I'm so excited about these new dreams that I've been led into. So I say that as encouragement to 12-year-olds and others out there, dream, but don't get too caught up in the specifics of having the dream work out exactly the way you think it is. But also use that as motivation that pulls you forward.